writing, and I haven't been waiting for a response. I've actually been waiting for validation, you know? I've been waiting for somebody to say, you know, you've got great writing capability, what you've got to offer is brilliant, you matter, your story matters, your journey matters. These other women's stories who were within this book, their stories matter.
So what I started to do, I started to just like buy and sell domain names when the internet was like literally you had to plug it into your wall. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's so easy because you're chasing this dream and this vision that you have, and to feel as though you need to be working all hours of the day. And yes, there are some days where you need to push yourself that little bit harder, but you really need, if you haven't got your health and your well-being, you haven't got any business.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, where I have conversations with phenomenal women in business and on their entrepreneurial journeys. As per usual, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you click that subscribe button so you're the first to know when I release a new interview. And if you're listening, please click that follow button for the same reason, so that you get to know as soon as I release a new audio or video, and you don't want to miss it. So make sure that you click those buttons. Today, I am joined by Marta Ceccato, who is the founder of Sapiens Media Coaching. Marta, thank you so much for joining me.
Welcome. Thanks a lot for having me here. Thank you. So
tell me about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you start your business? What were the kind of key steps that you took prior to officially going it alone?
I think I had a really slow start. You know, I'm really always careful, and I'm a pragmatic person, so I didn't give up everything to start my own business, you know, and got slowly into it, and was really in line with what I was doing. You know, I got a marketing consultancy, so, you know, my background was in marketing. I had 15-year experience, so it was quite straightforward for me. It wasn't like a sudden change. So yeah, it was like slowly getting some clients, getting myself out there, getting people to know me, what I was doing. Did a lot of free sessions. So yeah, just to get slowly into having some clients coming through the business and not just living like a security. You know, I always found it quite hard to focus on my business. And if I think about my bills and things that I cannot afford because, you know, I don't have that income coming through. So I think for me it was really important to keep that. It was quite hard because obviously it's double work. You finish your 9 to 5 and then you work in the evenings, you work weekends. It's never ending. But yeah, I truly believe that also when you start a business, you need to outsource. There's a lot of things that people try to do. They are not expert, and that's when they fail because, you know, they try to do their accounting, they try to do their marketing. And while if you got that steady income coming through, you can actually pay those people, you can focus on what you can do best. And that's where also, you know, you see the better results or better returns because, you know, the time you spend figuring out how to do your books, you could spend it with your clients and earn money. So.
Interestingly, I literally had that conversation 15 minutes ago with somebody because I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of the time we have some people start businesses and think that they need to do everything because they want to save money, but actually they're wasting time, which essentially is losing them money. So it doesn't actually help in the long run. It's a much better way, I think, the way that you've said, which is to outsource the things that you're not an expert at. For sure. So are you still employed now, or are you doing your business full time?
Yeah, I'm still doing the two things, and simply because I love both of them. You know, it's really hard when you're doing something that you really enjoy, but at the same time you got your business and you really love that. So, but I got a structure in place now. You know, I only spend certain amount of time doing my own business. I got things that are outsourced. So yeah, I've got more that, you know, and also I got to a point where I was getting really tired, really stressed. Last year, I just abandoned everything because I was forcing myself to be on social media and do many other things that then at the end of the day was just, you know, I decided that there were things I should be focusing on, and I just gave up on everything else. Sometimes we just think we have to do everything, and no, it's what's suited to you, to your timetable. to your, to your business, and also the way you like it. I mean, I don't really like, for example, doing a lot of live videos. So I was,
Me neither.
for me, like having that content, producing that content in form of videos was like taking me ages, because I was never happy with how they look like. With, I'm always concerned about my accent. So yeah, it's something that could have taken me like half an hour, like a blog post written down, then in a video format, it was taking me days. So it's also about, doing what you feel comfortable with, because, you get the best results.
Well, there's two things from that. Number one is you're working in the field that your business is operating in, right? So essentially, you're doing the same thing twice, and I'm sure that must be very rewarding. And then you also have the security of the regular income. So I think that that's a great thing. The second thing is, you mentioned your accent. Can I ask, where is that accent from, and how have you taken your accent yourself from wherever you were to here? What was that journey?
Well, I'm Italian. I was born in a small village in northeast of Italy. I came over after I got my degree. I was just supposed to stay here to, my degree was, I wanted to become a translator. I always had this, like, this idea of having my own business, doing my own things. After I finished university, I thought I needed to improve my English, my accent, so I came over. I also, in the meantime, realized that translators weren't paid so much, and they were doing a lot of work. You spend a lot of time in getting to that text that you are translating, learning like the background, the technical words, and then you get paid by word, and it's, really not enough. So then I decided to stay. I found I was working as a nanny, and then I was working at McDonald's, and I was going to school, so I was doing quite a few things. And then I got a bursary, so I went back to Italy, and I started focusing on web development, web designing, and I think that's where like my career changed, because I came back, I got into first IT, and then from there I got into digital marketing and advertising. There's a lot of other technologies involved with digital marketing, and I started a job with a startup that was then acquired by Google. And that's where then I really started enjoying the marketing side of things, as well as the ad tech side, and just carried on really. I really loved it. And I found it so challenging. It continuously changed. So it's like, it is always something new to learn and to, be aware of. So that's, I think, it keeps it exciting for me.
So you took a massive, I suppose, leap of faith by moving to another country and starting again. And I suppose that's kind of the same process of going out into business and starting your own business. How big of an impact do you think the fact that you had the courage to move over from Italy, what kind of impact do you think that had on the decision to set up your own business? Do you think that there was any sort of courage that you took from that into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think I've always been driven by ambition, and I'm quite stubborn. So whenever I start something, and that was the case where, my parents didn't like the fact that I was coming to London. I was the first kid, the only girl, so obviously they were really protective. But I wanted to show to them that I was going to make it. So going back wasn't an option, even if, I had days where I didn't even have enough money to pay for a train ticket, because it's obviously I was like not paid so much. And I think with the business as well, when you want, like, I felt sometimes like I wanted to give up because it was getting too hard. It was that feeling, I need to stick with it, and I need to thrive and make it work. So I think that's something that when in every situation, I think is the mix between ambition and being stubborn, where I have to get there somehow, no matter how. And I always try different ways. So yeah, I think that's really that has helped me.
So there's a few of the clients that I work with that have asked, well, they work and they kind of get a bit uncomfortable with promoting themselves on kind of social media and publicly, because they're worried that they're going to get into trouble at work. How have you managed to navigate that space, particularly because you're doing something in the same kind of sphere?
Well, I think if you're not doing something where you are in competition with your company, so what I'm doing is not really competing with what my company does. and always being, open about it. And, I was put up for an award last year, introduced as, my business and not my company, but my company knew about it. I got all the support from them. So I think it's about being open and just, if you hide things and then it comes up, it gets a bit strange. There are companies nowadays that they do appreciate employees that got interest and they got like that desire of having their own business, because obviously they bring in the knowledge and also the desire into the company. So I think, some people want the business to escape from their situation, or some other actually they are just excited by the idea of doing something by themselves, and they got that, mentality is then also reflected back in the workplace. So I think it's, a lot of companies are open to that as well. I think it's a good quality to have, but, being interested and having that strategic side, and also the challenges that you face as a business owner and all the knowledge that you have to absorb. It's always good when then you work for another company. So I think it's positive as long as you're open about it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think sometimes hiding it can make the situation worse in the long run, because if you hide it and then somebody from the organization finds out, then that's going to be probably frowned upon a little bit more, because why are you hiding it? And then there's all those questions of, were you working on your business when you're supposed to be working? Whereas if you're quite upfront in the beginning, then there's no kind of suspicion, and you make sure that the lines are clear. Like, when I'm at work, I work on work, and when I'm out of work, I work on business. And I think that's good. So, okay. Sorry. No, you continue.
I said a lot of stuff, that I do is during my weekend, in the evenings. Got nothing to do or interfere with my job. So yeah, I think it's, as I said, it's about being open. And there's so many people now that go side hustle, and sometimes it's a completely different sector, or they are doing courses that are completely different from, what their work is. It's just, I think, the way it is. People have got interest and they want to have, not just to have the extra money, but they just have a desire of doing something else. And I know so many people running like sewing classes, having their own baking business. So it's becoming more and more popular.
For sure. So you decided that you wanted to go into business. What was the process that you followed to get your first client?
I did a lot of free sessions. I think the best thing the best way to start is to get people to know you and to know the value they could get by working from you. And I know you can do that by creating a lot of free content, but then also offering that free session and getting really to talk to people. I mean, I spent so many hours talking to people about marketing and giving them ideas, and without even asking for money or expecting anything back from them, because they obviously need to see the value and they need to see that they can actually learn from you, get some benefits, and then they will come back. I had a few people that then came back when they could afford it, and they said, yeah, I want to work with you. So I think that sometimes people want to start, they want to make money straight away, and it doesn't work like this, especially when you work with small to medium businesses where maybe the budget is more tight and they really need to justify it. I mean, marketing is one of those things, for example, that businesses don't think about, and they always like last thing in their list. So yeah, I think it's get out there, get people to know what you do, how you do your style. There's also a question of style. I might really like what you do, but I might not feel like I would be able to work with you because of personalities, interests, or different timetables, or I might prefer doing in person and you might be located somewhere else. So I think there are a lot of other things that might influence your potential customers. So.
How long was the period, if you don't mind saying, from you kind of setting up and saying, right, I'm in business, until you got your first paid cost client? And I ask this question because I think sometimes there's a bit of a lack of patience to that process that you've just explained, or kind of trying to communicate the value and get people to know what you're doing. And some people register their businesses and then expect within like the first month I'm going to be making lots of money, and then they can get quite disheartened when that doesn't happen. So how long was that period for you?
Quite a few months. It was a year. And first you need to have clarity. And I think at the beginning I started with, I also had qualified as a business coach, and I was mixing, it was a bit like, not sure exactly who my target audience was. I had to spend a lot of time myself in figuring out what do I want to do. Initially, I wanted to do only coaching. Now I also do done for you. So it's a lot of things that I've changed on the way by just, learning what my clients wanted. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it took a while. And as you said, it's not that when you start, nobody becomes millionaire overnight. And for me also, the fact that I had an income, I wasn't under pressure, so I took my time. I think a lot of people also are under pressure because they left their job and they have to make it work. Mm-hmm. So that's why when they feel like, I need to have clients now. Mm-hmm. But you really need to spend time and getting your message right, your target audience. You really need to think about what am I selling, who is going to benefit from it, and who is going to have the money to pay for it. Because I think my mistake initially, I was targeting people that, I would have been, they wanted to work with me, but they could not afford it. Mm-hmm. So, you get to that point where, yes, you need also to think about, I need to generate some income. So,
how did you work out how to price yourself? So the reason I asked that question is what you just said about you were targeting the wrong audience and those people couldn't afford to pay you. Sometimes the response to that is to reduce prices. But obviously you didn't, you just decided to focus on a market that could afford to pay you. But how did you determine what your price should be, and actually these are the people that can afford to pay it, so therefore I shouldn't be focusing on those people?
Well, you should know what you're worth and what you're how much your clients will get out of working with you. So that's an indicator of your price. Also, good thing is looking at the market, looking at the competitors. I knew more or less, what other agencies were charging, and I knew that my target audience was within a certain bracket. I decided to work with small to medium businesses also because I found it satisfying, and it was a personal desire of doing that. I could work with bigger companies where budget is not, an issue. So yeah, I think there are different factors that then play a role into when you go into pricing and decide how much. But you need to get to a point where you need to be realistic and just say, am I running a charity or am I running a business? And I still do my, free stuff for charities. I'm a STEM ambassador. I've done a lot of charity work with, organizations that are looking after women that want to start a business or try to change career. But that was done as a charity that I was doing aside. What I run through my business needs to bring in some revenue.
I think that's a really important point, and I want to stress it again. Are you running a charity or are you running a business? And I think that's a question that a lot of, particularly in the kind of early stage startup phase, a lot of women that I've worked with need to ask themselves, because there is this thing of, well, I just want to help this person, I just want to help that person. But as you said, that's what charity is for. And actually, if you're in business, what you need to be doing is working out how you're going to generate income. And one of my mentors told me many, many years ago at the start of my entrepreneurial journey, how can you help others if you can't help yourself? And that's something that always stuck in my brain, because actually, if you can generate money through your business, that gives you the time and also the finances to then be able to go and help other people, rather than doing the helping first and then trying to scramble around for money after the fact. So, and yeah, as you said, having actual charities that you can work with, that gives you that outlet of then being able to help other people. And I think that's an important way of doing it, or a good way of doing it, should I say. What has been the most challenging thing for you on your kind of entrepreneurial journey so far?
Oh, well, I think there is always a challenge, isn't it? It's like every day is a challenge. And then you release a new product, or you're thinking of expanding. I think that's the way it is. I think it was more about balancing and realizing that I also need to have, you know, time off, because when you do stuff on weekends and evenings, you basically don't have time to spend with your family, friends, do your, you know, your second job becomes your hobby, or your hobby in a way. You know, it becomes, is taking away that time, the free time from you. So I think it, for me, was really hard to balance things. And I only realized when I, you know, I got to the point that I was so tired that I was hating it to do stuff for my business. And I was like, well, that's not the reason why I'm doing it. You know, I'm doing it because I wanted to have something for myself. I wanted to help these smaller businesses. By now I'm in a position where, like, I'm just dreading to open my laptop and go through my emails and things like that. So yeah, I think I became aware that I needed to be more strict. And there are nights where I go to the gym, I don't work on my business. There are weekends where I say I just do Saturday morning, and then you know, the rest of the time is just for my things and, you know, my own time, even just reading sometime. So yeah, I think that was, the balancing was quite hard at the beginning. And you're so excited as well. You just jump into it. You do everything, and it's like non-stop. But, you know, it's just stepping back and realizing, well, you know, I've got one life and I need to also enjoy it. So.
Yes, and I think that's so important. And if you look on social media, there's this whole kind of you can sleep when you're dead culture, hustle, hustle, hustle. If you want it, you won't stop. And I think that can actually be quite damaging, because if you're just going, and you don't take time to rest or to do things that you enjoy, then you can burn out, or you start to resent the business that you started. And I think what's important is making sure that you schedule things in. So for me, one of the key things that I will always do is schedule in, well, I've started to do now. I shouldn't pretend I've been doing this for a long time. Scheduling time to go to the gym, number one. Scheduling holidays, and that can be leaving the country holidays, or it could be just work holidays. So I'm not actually going to do anything for this whole weekend because I need some downtime. And also doing evenings where I turn my phone and my laptop off once or twice a week, where I just don't engage. Because if you don't schedule and be intentional with that, you can find yourself caught on this hamster wheel and you can't get off, and you start to punish yourself. And I've been here, and I know many other people that have. If you're not working, you feel that you're wasting time, or you're missing out on an opportunity, or something's happening. I'm going to miss this once in a lifetime opportunity just because I turned my laptop off at 8 o'clock instead of midnight. And actually, for you to be operating at kind of your maximum potential, you need rest, and you need relaxation, and you need enjoyment. So I love to read. I love to go to the cinema, so I try to do that regularly. I think it's important, as you said, to find time to do the things that you enjoy doing, so that when you then are engaging in your business, you're not feeling resentful or burnt out.
Yeah, I agree.
So in terms of your business, I realize I've probably gone about 20 to 25 minutes in and not actually got you to explain what your business does. That's a faux pas on my part. So could you share with everyone what exactly your business does?
Yeah, well, I'm a social media and online marketing consultant. There are two sides of the business. One is I coach and train people, maybe small entrepreneurs or small business owners that want to learn about marketing, either because they want to start, you know, if you are like a coach or somebody that does your own social media, you want to learn how to do it and what's the strategy and the planning behind it. So I help them with, with all the understanding of the target audience, how to figure out your target audience, how to plan your strategy. And also because I saw a lot of them wasting a lot of money on, going to this platform when you can outsource and they don't know what to ask for, and they just waste money because they just pay in advance, and then whatever is delivered is very low quality. And then on the other side, now I started doing done for you as well. So really, delivering social media for clients and getting more involved with the marketing execution, blog post content and things like that.
Do you ever get social media fatigue? Do you ever get to a point where you're just like, this is too much? I don't want to see any social media again.
to be honest, since I think December, I've been off my Facebook quite a lot because it's just inundated with a lot of like low value stuff, and I see a lot of people recycling the same post, recycling, whenever now I post something, I know that is valuable to people. Sometimes I also post personal things because people also want to see that side of you, but you see a lot of cliches like copy and paste, and because somebody said one thing, then everybody are doing the same thing, and so you see different people with the same post, and I got a bit sick of it. I'm actually missing out on like meaningful things from friends and people that I'm close to, because there's so much going through. And it's not the right way of doing it. So I step back. Yeah, and I think I'm doing a lot of stuff with Pinterest now, Instagram, rather than just Facebook. Facebook is one of those things you first have to get your group of followers on your page and your group, and then you can really start leveraging it. I like the idea of Instagram and Pinterest, that they are open, so everybody can actually find your post and get value out of you without having to be in your network, and you're like grooming them through Facebook. I find it a bit overcrowded right now.
I don't like Facebook. Well, not for business. I use it for myself just to check what people are doing generally. But I love Instagram. Instagram is the reason why I need to turn my phones off some evenings, because I can spend so long just getting lost in scrolling, and it's not good for your brain. But one of the key things that I always say to my clients as well is, so they feel like they need to be on every single social media platform. And I always say, are the people that you're trying to engage on all of these platforms? And if they're not, why do you need to be on them? What's your kind of views on that?
I agree. I spoke to so many people that told me, I choose Facebook because I'm comfortable with that, or I like that platform. And it's like, no, it's, if, for example, you are targeting an audience there are some people that don't even on social media, or, they are completely off the digital and the online environment. So really you need to focus on, where they hang out, and your content needs to be, and the formats needs to be tailored to your target audience. So yeah, you're right. It's not what you like, it's what your customer like.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget. I keep generalizing, but there are some people that I've met that don't necessarily understand that and think that they need to be on everything, and then get overwhelmed with trying to manage so many different accounts. Whereas I always suggest, I don't specialize in marketing specifically, I look at the general business strategy, but I always suggest focusing on 2 or 3 and being very, very engaged on those platforms and not trying to do everything. Because trying to manage, for me, Instagram and LinkedIn alone takes a lot of time. So to then add Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter and all of that into the mix is just too much for me to manage. Have you had a mentor along the journey? And if so, what kind of impact? And not necessarily a formal mentor, but people that have kind of assisted you, given you advice, and what kind of impact has that had on the journey? And if not, do you wish that you did?
I did, like in different areas and in different periods. I think, I think that the more people you work with and you get support from, the more advice, and it's more varied, it's like, rather than sticking with one mentor for years, I prefer like working with different people. So yeah, I think it's been really valuable, because it's that advice that only somebody that's been through the journey can give you. Sometimes it's also, I'm a coach, so I understand the benefit of having somebody that is not involved with you, but I can actually listen to you, and then even just ask the right things and make you think, okay, maybe I should do it that way. So yeah, I think for me, I've always been like really happy with the type of, with the mentoring that I chose and the way I've done things. And I said, I've, found it valuable having different people, and, they were experts in different sectors, because then you get to hear the best from different sides. So
You mentioned obviously you understand the value of coaching. One of the kind of key things that I have been noticing over the last kind of year or so is that there has been a huge, maybe more than a year actually, but a massive surge in the amount of people calling themselves coaches. And also there seems to have been, with the increase of people calling themselves coaches, there seems to be a resistance from people to want to get a coach because everybody's a coach type thing. How have you combated that, number one? And what are your views on that as somebody that definitely has done the training, has got the experience? How annoyed does it make you feel when you see random people pop up and say, I'm a coach, and they haven't done the work?
It's not annoying, but I know it's dangerous because I've been through hours and hours and hours of training. I was like, you get this training with mentors. They look at your style, they look at the question you ask. And I know that because it's not regulated, you can get to deal with people that might not need coaching and might need more than that. And you're not qualified to spot it, and you're just causing more damage than anything else. So, coaching is like, from coaching easy to get into counseling, and there is like a line between the two. And some people, if you're not trained, you could easily mistake some issue that could be treated with counseling, and you said, oh yeah, you need a coach. And it's I think it's really risky, and I think it needs to be regulated. And as you're right, there are a lot of people that saw an online video and they said, I'm a coach. It's there's a lot of things that you need to know before you become a coach. Even like getting an insurance, there is a lot of things that I was taught as part of my training that I'm sure many people are not thinking of. So,
well, yeah, because if you give advice and then somebody takes that advice and their business goes bust and they sue you, you need to have insurance coverage. And I as someone that calls myself a coach, I kind of say I do coaching, consulting, mentoring, training, all that into one. But I am very aware that there's, particularly lately, I've had a few people calling me about a specific person in my city that's called a coach and asking me if me and her do the same thing. And obviously I try to be as respectful as possible, but my thing always is my credentials speak for themselves. Look at my qualifications, look at the people that I work with. I am more than just somebody that calls myself a coach. I actually have put in the work to do it. And I think for other coaches, when I come across coaches such as yourself that have put in the work, I get a bit frustrated that there's people that just decided today, oh, I can inspire people, so I'm going to be a coach. And I think, regulation of the industry, I personally think would be, I don't know how it would be done, but I think it's something that at some point in the near future needs to get done. Otherwise, people like me and you get kind of all tarred with the same brush when actually we're really adding value and we've really put in the time to learn our craft.
Yeah, and also I think, people will say, well, I'm just a business coach, so I don't touch the personal side. But if you're small with like one person business or really small business, sometimes, you get into the personal because there might be challenges on the business side that are related to the, business owner or the, whoever. So that's where you start going to more like life coaching. And that's where I said, that's really like, sometimes you get to know about personal issues and situations, and it's a lot of other things and a lot of other aspects that you need to be aware of. And I've been in a situation where I identified someone that needed more counseling and coaching, and I just step back, let him know, and he became aware of it, and that we ended there. But it's a fine line. It is, it can be dangerous. So that's why the fact that it's not regulated is, for me, it's a problem.
It's interesting you should say that, because I've had to recommend a few of my clients to counselling, and I always try to do it in a kind of a soft way, because sometimes people can take offence to stuff like that. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody has taken offence to you saying, this is beyond my remit type thing?
No, as I said, it was only one case, and this person actually, by talking to me, and it just realized that I actually needed more than that, to go to the point where it's like, my issue is actually more like deep, and I need to see somebody else's. So I became aware of that. But as you said, yeah, it's still seen as a stigma and something that, you know, is taboo, we shouldn't be talking about. But, you know, I think the sooner that, you know, you realize and you get to see somebody, it just, the better it is. It just, you know, it just makes such a difference. And you could just turn things around in a couple of sessions. So I think, you know, there's nothing to be afraid or scared of. It's just, I would say, a level up of coaching, you know, it's more like, yeah, I do think.
I totally agree with you, because there's clients that I've worked with, as I said, that I've had to recommend, because no matter how much advice I give in the business realm, if you can't get past these blockages in your personal, how you feel in your mindset, your confidence, you're not going to be able to implement the things on the business side. And I think that not enough people, I feel like I'm spending this whole talk criticizing people, but I think more business owners need, and I put something on my social media, I think it was yesterday, say mental health is wealth. More entrepreneurs and business owners need to be committed to dealing with their mental well-being. And I think counseling is a fantastic way of doing that. And I think that even if you don't necessarily have a specific issue, because entrepreneurship, as we said at the beginning, there's a lot of ups and downs and challenges, having a sounding board that can give you kind of that counseling support that's separate even from a coach or a consultant, I think all entrepreneurs should invest in, even if it's one day a month, just going and kind of dealing with the mental well-being side of things is always going to help you in your business at the end of the day.
Even because being an entrepreneur can be a lonely place to be, you know, it's like, unless you got time to network and meet people, you're always out and about meeting clients, but you still like, you need to have that, you know, way of talking about your challenges. And yeah, it's, you know, it's hard to get stuck and feeling like quite depressed or demotivated, or like feeling like nobody understands you. Because again, I think I saw with myself, unless you are like your friends and family are got the same mindset, sometimes also you feel like they don't understand you, they don't understand what's driving you and why you're spending your Saturday working in your business rather than going for lunch with them. I find that a challenge as well. So yeah, I think that's quite sometimes upsetting and makes you feel like you are alone, and you don't have many people to talk about and to talk to. So,
well, that was going to be my next question. Like, who is your support circle, and who's in your support network, and who hasn't necessarily, and don't obviously name any names, but who hasn't necessarily been as supportive as you would like, and how have you dealt with that?
Well, first of all, it's my partner. You know, he's got the same mentality and the same desire. He's got his own thing on the side as well. And then, you know, I was lucky enough to, along the way, to meet people by doing different courses, to meet people with my mindset and mentality. So I kept in touch with them, and we meet regularly. We discuss challenges, we discuss projects, we support each other without expecting anything from each other. I think there are people that I knew, old friends from before, that they went down a different path, which I respect. You know, and I think they, especially in the beginning, they didn't understand why I was spending so much time. And they were all, you know, the comments sometimes they are like, this sounds like they are appreciating, but you said it's quite sarcastic, because, you know, it's like, oh, how do you manage? How do you do it? You know, you must be tired and things like that. And so yeah, it's just, you know, you just have to, you know, obviously things have changed, because if you're my friend, I respect your choices and you respect mine, and we still make time to meet, and we can still talk about anything else. I'm not going to talk to you about my clients, my business, and my ideas. You know, so but yeah.
I think that's a good way of combating it as well, because it's hard when people don't understand. It's hard when people are not necessarily supportive. But what is probably the hardest thing is when you go to friends or family and sharing your ideas or sharing scenarios, and they're dismissive of it, and that can be quite disheartening. So I always recommend, if you know who those people are, don't take anything to do with your business to them. And it doesn't necessarily always mean that they have something against you personally. A lot of the time it's about them, like they don't understand it, or they don't have the courage to do it, and therefore, or even they could be worried about you. And I think that's also sometimes it can be rooted in love, but don't take your business stuff to them, because then it's going to make you feel worse than you need it to.
I think sometimes they gotta, as I said, they are going down a different path. Maybe for them, family is more important, or they're having several houses and being in the property market, and maybe you have invested all your money in your business. So it's just different point of views, but it doesn't mean that there cannot be mutual respect. And as you said, sometimes actually people either they are jealous, or they don't have the courage to do it, and they're like, there is a bit of envy, or they just want to put you down. And if that's the case, you just have to move away, because it's just going to be detrimental to yourself and your success. So.
Yeah, for sure. Along your journey, what would you say has been kind of the most proudest moment? Like, what is the thing that you look back and say, I'm just so proud that happened, or that I was involved in that?
Well, I think even outside my business journey, I think it was moving to London on my own. I had really little money. My English was, despite it, it's always hard when then you come in a place, there are different accents. So, it was really difficult for me. And then going from there to having my own business, I'd really like high-profile jobs with really big brands. And I won an award last year. So I think that they all, and it was mainly done on my own. I never asked my parents for money, or just as I said, driven by ambition and a bit of stubbornness. So yeah,
it's wonderful. What are 3 pieces of advice that you would give to a woman that is considering starting a business, or is in the very early stages of her entrepreneurial journey?
I would say, first of all, is be clear on what you're going to offer, who are you going to offer it to, and what are the benefits that we'll get out of it. And as we spoke before, when you're thinking about who you're going to target, make sure that you're clear in it. First of all, it's who do you want to work with, because I think the best thing about your own business, you can choose your clients, and that's a luxury. So decide who you want to work with, and who can really benefit from your business, and who can pay for your business. So I think that's one piece of advice. Second one will be like, I think what one of my problems was at the beginning was I was aiming for perfectionist, and that basically meant that I wasn't started anything, because I was always like, I need to redo this, and sometimes that turns into self-doubt. So I think it's really like, it's never going to be perfect. So just go for it. And it's always like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Is it going to be so bad that you cannot go back? So that's the second piece of advice. And then I think that, as we discussed before, like, whenever you can, try to outsource, because there is no point in wasting hours trying to figure out how to create your own website that is never going to look like a professional website. So either you give it to somebody else who can do it, and you can invest those hours working with your clients and making more money, or you can just wait and focus on whatever is priority. So I think that's really important.
Wonderful. And if people want to find out more about you and your business, what platforms are you on? Where can they find out?
I'm on Instagram, on Sapiens Media Coaching. Then on my website, which is www.sapiensmediacoaching.com. And then on Facebook, I've got a page which is Marta Ceccato. And those are my main channels, really, where I post blog posts, and I'm regular on Instagram. And so.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. Really appreciate it, and wishing you every success in the future. And thank you everybody for watching, for listening. If anything has resonated, as I say every week, please write a comment, please like, please share in your networks. We need to get more of these female entrepreneur stories just spreading, so that more women can be inspired, be motivated, be empowered to think big, take action, and keep pushing. And Marta, I thank you for for sharing your journey, specifically the fact that you moved from another country to the UK and then started your own business and become an award-winning business owner. I just want to give you a clap for that. So thank you again. And make sure you tune in next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. GMT, for another She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Story.